All right, let's go. I am very, very excited to be with all of you guys here today. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan. I am a co host with Craig Walker for Dr. Sharnael True TV, and we are super excited today to have Lily and Tyler join us again. They've been here many, many, many times, and we have a fun subject to talk about, not just with their new books, which is really freaking cool, but they just came back from Egypt, which I'm obsessed to hear about and want to go myself so bad. So, yeah, Craig, how's it going? What's going on? I know it's like in the middle of the night for you. Thanks for waiting for us.
Yeah, because of Tyler, I've had to wait until 8:30 at night, which is extremely late for us in the UK. But no, it's great to be here. Like I say, we've been talking about this for a while. I'm very interested to hear what you picked up in Egypt and how it kind of relates to. I mean, things are going into overdrive, with regards to disclosure. We can get into that as well, and if you think there's any link with ancient Egypt and really sort of get feedback on things that you picked up. I know you've done shows about it already, but if we could put it in a nutshell, that'd be wonderful.
Super
Yeah.
stoked to be here.
Oh, I just pulled up the chat so I can see it now. Okay.
Oh,
Awesome.
okay, cool.
Yeah. So I didn't listen. I didn't hear anything you just said. Can you say that again?
Just talk about Egypt. How was Egypt? How was it?
I heard you. It was great. We were on Abby Lynn's retreat. It was 16 days. And we did all the sacred sites and did some amazing grid work and energy work. And it was powerful in that regard. And then it was eye opening as far as the culture and seeing the way they lived their life there. And one of my favorite parts about the trip was hanging out with the locals. We got to go to a couple of villages and really see their way of life, which is it's unbelievably humbling. I mean, we think we have things to complain about here. We're sadly mistaken, but when we go over there, we actually visited a family one night, and they cooked for us and let us like into their home and stuff. And somebody asked the woman, the only woman in the family who could speak English, like, what are their daily struggles? And she can hardly think of anything. They're so happy and appreciative of just the things that they have. They're so grateful. They're living in such a sense of gratitude at all times for things that any person in the States here would just be complaining about because things aren't perfect, or there's no AC, or whatever the case may be, or you don't have a car, whatever it is. We just take so much for granted. So whenever you travel like that, it's nice because you become cultured and it's eye opening, and you come back home with a new appreciation of everything that you've built here or where you live. And that part of the trip was beautiful. The sacred sites was obviously amazing too. And Lily can touch on that a little more if she'd like, but just from my number one takeaway, that part in particular stood out to me. And then we can get into the disclosure stuff, which is also interesting.
Go for it, Lily. What did you feel like? I know you're practicing a lot with your kind of abilities at the moment, and you've been tapping into stuff. What stands out to you of what things that happen? I'm sure there's lots, but like what really stands out?
Yeah. So, I've got my normal galactics that I talk to basically every day. But during the trip, it kind of took a different turn than I was expecting. It was a very like personal, and they kind of took a step back. And even Abby experienced the same thing, where she's normally in contact with the galactics and the ETs. They very much like took a step back and allowed me, and then Abby as well, as she was saying, to really become fully immersed in the Egyptian energies and seeing those types of beings. So that was really interesting to me, and diving more into our history. So I haven't done any outside research. I haven't done any research on the Anunnaki. Now I'm like, well, I have to play catch up on that. And all of these other things, I get downloads about it, and I see these things, and I'm starting to see them more. So I was seeing a lot of that, more about our history, kind of some of the quantum mechanics that I don't even think I have words for, but I see visions of it, and I get a feeling for how it works, of like these sacred sites and these node points. And I mean, along the walls, what it looked like, and everybody's just kind of interpreting this, like, I don't think anybody knows for sure exactly what all of that means, and the archaeologists are kind of interpreting it. But it looked a lot of the writing on the wall looked to me like keys to ascension, teaching you how to ascend and how to reach these higher levels. Very, very sacred. So, so I just kind of wasn't really expecting that. And being there in person is very, very different. Just being immersed in it is very powerful. And these giant, just structures, laser precise. Like you can see it on the TV on Ancient Aliens. Yeah, it's laser precise. But whenever you're there in person, it's different, and you can like touch it and you can feel it and you feel the energy of it. So that that was incredible for me. And I learned some things about my own history. Some things were coming up in some of the temples that I walked in. I knew I had been there. Kind of had some just spontaneous memories come back to me. So I'll pause right there, but that was kind of the biggest thing for me.
So cool. So cool. Well, we've actually been talking, Laura and I, for a few weeks, months now, and we are doing a tour next year to Egypt. Nice. So we're really excited about that. And you guys, with all your pictures and everything, I was like, oh my gosh, the more you posted, I mean, I was like every day waking up to go see what you're going to post next and following along, because I'm like, okay, we got to go there. We got to go there. You know, like what would be the thing that you would say, like one or two things that you would like, hey, we have to make sure that this is on our tour? What would you say?
I would say the cruise on the Nile. And you hit the ancient sites along the Nile, so there's amazing places there. But that's one thing I never knew that I wanted to do until I was there. And I was like, this should have been a bucket list item all along. And I had no idea, you know, it was absolutely stunning. It's like you're trapped in time. You get on this beautiful boat, which does matter. There's different boats. And if you really want to do that, talk to us and we can like, you know, help you pick the right boat, because I think that matters. But you get on this beautiful boat and you start sailing we were there on the Nile for 9 days, and there's parts, and there's parts of it where you're trapped in time. It's like you're just driving past, you know, like the palm trees and the villagers and ancient ruins and some of these old quarries that you hear about, and it just hasn't been touched for years, you know, and it's like you're just trapped in time. That's the best way I could describe it. It's like being in a time machine while you're on the Nile. That part, and the weather is just stunning every day. And I mean, I don't know how to describe. It was just so beautiful. And it's not like a typical ocean cruise, because, you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere. This is a small boat with 20 people on it, and it's just everybody, you know, your group, and it just, no matter where you look, there's something amazing to observe and take in. And then at night, you got the stars, you know, and you just sky watch from the boat. So, and then, you know, we would park and then we would go to these sites and then get back on the boat and then travel. You know, it was really, really cool. That is
peaceful too.
What?
It was peaceful too, because some of the cities that like it can be very conjugated and a bit chaotic. So being on the boat was nice and peaceful.
Well, that's one of the things the lady asked me 2 days ago. She was like, I need to know if you want to do the cruise or if you want to do by land. So you're saying you would do the cruise over the land?
100%. I wouldn't go back and not do the cruise. Okay. We did by land the first couple of days, like 3 or 4 days. And that's tough, getting out of your hotel every day, getting on the bus, going to the site. It's very hard on your physical body and drains your energy. But when you just wake up and you look out your window and you're just like cruising along this beautiful river, and I mean, it's so peaceful. You're away from all the towers and the city, and it's just like you can think and meditate. And then you just get off the boat and you take a little ferry over to wherever you got to go. And I mean, it's pretty cool.
All right. I'm taking notes.
Cool. So I'm curious, like, do the locals have like an attachment to the ancient culture? Are they disconnected from that at all?
You can answer that, Lily. Share what you think, and I'll share my thoughts.
I think some of them do, but I feel I mean, I don't want to like talk badly, but it seems like a lot of the sites are more of like a tourist attraction now, and that kind of like broke my heart. Not everybody though. There are a lot of people who connect with that still, but yeah, I feel like there was more of a disconnect than I expected. I'll just say that from the ancient stuff. Not everybody, but I think just kind of in like the general grand scheme of things, that it's a disconnect, and it's more of you'll see the hieroglyphs and everything everywhere, but it's kind of like more of an attraction. Again, not everybody, but just kind of general. I feel like
it's been quite heavily commercialized.
Yeah.
Commercialized, and poverty in a sense. The way they live is different than we're used to, and they're seem to be perfectly happy with that, but that's all they know. And but it's really interesting because you have the pyramids and this amazing like multi-million-dollar Cairo museum and this beautiful hotel, and so from looking through the camera this way, it looks stunning. If you turn the camera around, there's a hard line, and then it's like, okay, this is the culture, this is the city, this is the in some sense, some areas poverty, and it's like, what happened? It's very apparent that they clean it up for the tourists, but the actual local land itself, the government doesn't really put in any money into their own culture, right, into their own people. And that's really interesting. Yeah, it was pretty surprising. And before I went, I've heard a few people reached out to me, and they were like, Egypt isn't what you think it is, and they're like, you'll see what I mean when you get there. And surely enough, it's apparent. But within all that, you meet the beautiful people I was talking about earlier that are just so, like, it's humbling, because whenever you're not, I don't know how to describe it, we're constantly distracted. We have so many luxuries, we've forgotten how to be grateful for the simple things in life. They're all grateful for the simple things, and that's the difference. It's actually charming in a way. It's like, it's counterintuitive. And I experienced the same thing when I went to Belize. It was, very much a third world country, and they were essentially living in poverty, but there was something so humbling and peaceful about it. And I was like, I could actually live here. Doesn't make sense in my head, but I could live here amongst these people, because they're in this frequency of love, right? It's simple.
Easier way of life, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess a question I've got is, we all know, or I say we all know, but we and you were there connecting with it, there must be some sort of energy in the land that's still remnant from the ancient times. We know that they were a very, very advanced civilization. And yes, it's probably been commercialized. Do you think that like the commercialization has been intentionally set in place to keep people from tapping in? Do you sense any kind of control of the area at all?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well, I mean, Lily, you're the one who can tap into that energy better than I can. But I mean, I feel it as well. It's very apparent. But Lily, tell the story about that book you were reading that talked about the temple or the ruins underneath the Cairo airport, which would tell you that answers your question. They build right over the top of some of these things,
Yeah, that was super interesting. There's so many different layers there. And a lot of it is kept, like, you're not allowed to, we're only allowed to access just a tiny, tiny little piece. But so the book is Grandmother Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, who went and trained in ancient Egypt. And in the book, it talks about, I didn't even know that it was going to be talking about this. And I hadn't listened. I started the book like a year ago. I just played it on the plane. And sure enough, the part that I'm getting into, it talks about how she goes to do initiations in Egypt and training and all of that, and working with like the Akash and the halls of Amenti. But she says that where she went to train, so Jesus's grandmother was where in the temple that now the Cairo airport is built over. And she said there's a whole city basically under Cairo that is just built on top of. So I thought that was really interesting. And then whenever you go to these sites, there's all of these kind of holes and places that lead underground, but it's all blocked off, and it will go on for miles and miles. So, and they know some of these temples and things were only uncovered. Like one of them was in the 60s. I can't remember exactly which one that was, but just in the 60s, it was uncovered, and there's layers and layers underneath of that. So that's just pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, they're very well aware of the vast underground network. At least some of the archaeologists are, you know. And then our guide, or our amazing guide, I don't know if I should say his name. Our amazing guide.
Yeah.
He took us. I mean, he knows Egypt like the back of his hand, but he also knows the spiritual aspect of it and the galactic component. And it was just it was amazing having him help us. You know, it was Abby's tour, but he was like, you have to have the archaeologist there to take you around. That's like part of the whole package, right? So he was telling, somebody asked him in our group about, well, surely somebody did sonar mapping of this land and they've identified these structures underground. And she's like, do you know about that? And he said, the people who know about that have a top secret clearance. And that's when we bring the military in now. So that would mean it's beyond the police state, the Egyptian government. The military is holding on to the secrets, really. And I would imagine that's because we get into things like Stargates and secret space programs and portal technology, time travel. I mean, the stuff that we read about that's actually coming to fruition now. The White House literally 2 days ago or yesterday, whenever it was, made that statement saying we essentially have the ability to traverse time and space and warp time and whatever, talking about time travel. So, I mean, it's all real, it's all possible. And I think that those secrets are being heavily guarded and protected by the military industrial complex and private corporations that have a vested interest in keeping that stuff secret. So there is that layer, but then there are some, even some of the, I guess, more known tunnels and networks, like even some of the archaeologists, they get to go into, but it's still not accessible to the public, which is, in one sense, I get it, because how would you even turn that into tourism? Because, I mean, it's dangerous. A lot of the places, even inside the Great Pyramid, I would consider dangerous, and, you know, and people can get hurt in there. It's fairly easy to get hurt or lose your footing or slip or be claustrophobic or whatever. So you can't just open it up as a tourist attraction, but we would all appreciate it if we would just have access to that history and that knowledge, instead of having to wonder and people, you don't have to worry about people trying to break into these sites and looting and this and that. I don't think they understand that, like, the transparency is actually going to help them keep people away. Everybody wants to do what they're not supposed to do. They want to go where they're not supposed to go. So when they put barricades in front of this stuff, it actually entices people, you know. And I feel like the exact opposite would happen. If we had free access to all of it, you know, it wouldn't be so interesting anymore, because we know. And it's just like a kid. As soon as you give them the toy they want, they don't want to play with that. They want to play with your purse or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? They want to play with what they can't play with. And I think that psychology should be they should reconsider their tactics whenever they reveal this information to us.
I would like to add something on that. Like, it was kind of difficult to you can't really like openly meditate or do things like that on these sites. So just kind of like putting that out there, you kind of have to secretly do those sorts of things. They will not allow any channeling, chanting, stuff like that. They're very strict on that. So that's a bit peculiar to me.
Did they say why?
Well, for one, yeah, he did say why. For one, they particularly don't like females doing it, or at least females. Like Carrie Cassidy literally almost got arrested and handcuffed whenever she did her tour last time, because she was telling her version of the Egyptian history on the sites, and they didn't like when a female comes in and tells their history, you know, and undermines their history, I should say. You know, because the Islam religion and
It's Islamic, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, you know, we were there during Ramadan, so they're all covered up. And I don't know what it's like outside of Ramadan, but, you know, some of the girls, they're the only thing that's visible, the only skin is their eyes, you know. So
that's just in London.
Yeah. So I don't know what you just said. I didn't hear you.
I said that's normal in London.
Oh, right. But anyway, it was really interesting. I don't think they want females saying things like that. And also, we asked our guide, and he's like, it's not that they care, but if they make rules, you can break those rules with money.
Right.
They just want money. So if you want to go meditate or chant or channel or do whatever it is you want to in one of these sacred sites, they're going to act like it's a big no-no until you slip them some money, and then they're like, oh yeah, go ahead. You
have to bring lots of ones.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
also it's like the way it was described to us is there's no rhyme or reason for what they decide to enforce or not, and it all depends on the individual and if you catch them in a good mood or not. They can basically make the rules up as they go, and it's just you don't know what's going to happen until you get there and assess the situation, and maybe you can get away with it, maybe not.
Wow. Yeah. Because I'll be honest, I mean, we discussed this when I was in Florida for New Year, Tyler, if you remember, when we were in the car. I've had this like inherent like dislike because in my own journey, you see that the Cabal, the Illuminati, that they are very much rooted in Egyptian esoteric knowledge and wisdom, and they use that. I mean, just look at what the symbol of the Illuminati is. It's a pyramid, right?
Mhm.
And I remember researching how Aleister Crowley went to Egypt. He opened portals there. Have you ever seen that famous picture of him doing that with the pyramid hat on?
Yeah.
He was doing loads of stuff, really dodgy stuff. So he was tapping into something, and as we know, he was eventually an MI6 agent, a British MI6 agent as well. So he was he did stuff with Churchill and was used heftily by the British government, right? So I've always had this feeling like a dislike towards it for that. However, I'm feeling more and more like something needs to be redeemed and recovered from there and taken back almost. Did you get that vibe at all? Did you feel like there is a war going on at all?
Yeah. Lily,
Daily.
go ahead. What?
I did daily. At a lot of the temples, I felt a tug of war of energy. Yeah. I think it was also just the time. We got there at interesting timing with the discovery and all of that going viral and a lot of eyes going on. It wasn't always like that, but I felt that quite a bit there.
So they were aware of the discoveries, like they were talking about it?
No.
No?
No, we had our guide inquire about it before we even went on the trip, because like it happened like days before we left, right? And like this discovery went viral like a few days before we left, so we're like perfect timing. We get to go down there and like be in the action. And our guide, he inquired about it to his archaeologist friends, and they didn't know what he was talking about. And then he asked a couple people, and they either said it's not true or they just don't know what he's talking about. And there was virtually, and I mean this, there was no chatter, no talk, no scuttlebutt, nothing about that discovery at all in Egypt, which shows you the power of the internet, because the internet was, breaking this, exploding with this. But then it also shows you that you don't always believe what you see on the internet also, because we all just assume that Egypt is like hustle and bustle and everybody's there uncovering this whole discovery and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't that at all, actually.
Well,
so
I was picking up on meetings, still like some meetings and stuff taking place kind of behind the scenes. Psychically. I don't have proof for that, but psychically.
Right. But behind the scenes is what I'm saying. It's like in person, like we didn't see any evidence of that. And if you didn't have the internet, you wouldn't have known anything about that. You would have been none the wiser to this new discovery, right? Which isn't even new. It's just data that's resurfacing from years ago, apparently. But so it's really interesting there. But I do believe that that's true. I do believe that there's pillars. I think it goes far underground. And, it's very apparent that there's a cover up. And that's, I mean, everywhere you look, you can see it. And Craig, to answer your question, as far as like you have a bad feeling about Egypt, well, my analysis of the whole from the whole trip is just every site we went to was defaced and destroyed by somebody that came in after the fact and took over that site. So it was maybe once a beautiful place, and then it was hijacked, inverted. We don't know the true origins, like the intentions behind the origins. Actually, Daryl James is going to be speaking about Egypt and its origins at our conference, stuff that he learned while he was in the military, which is stuff I've never heard. It was just like classified information that was passed along to him, and he's going to be sharing that at our conference. And it's, Craig, you heard it in the car. And
I was just going to say, he answered a lot of my questions and reasons why I had bad feelings about stuff. And obviously, I won't give anything away, but I was like really hoping he was going to talk about that at the conference. So that's brilliant. Yeah,
he's going to be bringing it up. So to me, like Lily said, energetically, there's a war at each side, and it's like things are going on in these other realities because we live in a multi-dimensional planet, you know. So these other realities, just parallel to this one, there's warring energies and things still happening. And when you go to these sites that are sacred portals, essentially, if they're just left unkept or unmonitored, like who knows who's using those portals, those energetic portals, you know? So I feel like it's really important to go to these sites and like bring that information back, plug them back in so they're working properly instead of, you know, inverted. I don't know, Lily, did you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. What you just said, I think is right. That's part of the work that we are doing, kind of clearing those out, turning things back on, fixing things. Like the experience I wasn't expecting connecting to a Stargate at the Valley of Kings. I felt, I don't know, that was something really big. I don't even think I fully comprehend what was happening there, but I was helping to activate something along with other beings that I felt around and just kind of like reconnect things. And that's incredibly important. And that's going to help propel us up into the ascension, free energy and all of that. Like it's all connected, raising the consciousness of the planet.
And I mean, that's what we were there doing though. Cause it was Abby's tour. When we went to each site, she would go and do this toning, which her toning is like unbelievably powerful. And it was like really, I mean, energy work on the next level, right? I mean, there's stuff whenever she starts toning and channeling and tapping in, like the whole world just melts away. You know, she's in the zone, and so some really powerful stuff was happening. And you know, when we went to those sites, but we were limited to the amount of time and how much you could actually do. So you know, that part was a little disheartening. But when we did get to sit there and actually like do the work and have a circle and meditation, whatever it was very apparent, like those sites are sacred sites for a reason, because it doesn't take much to sit down and tap into that energy and start receiving information and doing work. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask is like, I know you guys were over there to do some activations for whatever, but do you feel like you yourself were activated in some ways that are different than before you went?
Yeah, Lily, go. You could take that one.
Yeah. I'm still unpacking, and I'm sure I probably will still be unpacking for months to come. I retrieved some soul aspects, and I'm uncovering some memories, some past lifetime memories, some really deep connections that I didn't even necessarily know that I had. I knew a little bit, but I don't know, there's just so much more to it. So that's been big. And with it, as I'm integrating this, because we did so many things so fast, you don't have time to really sit with it and integrate. So as I'm sitting with it and integrating new kind of visions, new downloads, epiphanies, memories, and also I feel myself shifting where I'm just remembering things just automatically, like I understand how something works whenever I didn't before. So that's kind of cool. Just kind of gaining and tapping into more soul knowledge. A lot of Lyran connections coming up, and then ancient Egyptian, Atlantean stuff,
right,
coming up as well.
That was the one thing that was apparent to me, was the extraterrestrial connection in Egypt, and I had major Lyran activations and memories coming through, and I had such a connection with every site you go to. There's these lion beings, these Lyrans. I'm like, and you know, they try and tell you it's like they're all depictions of one Lyran being, Sekhmet. But I'm like, no, I could feel it in my core. I'm like, that's not right. I'm like, these are different lion. We're looking at a Lyran civilization, that the humanoid lion beings that literally walked on Earth in ancient times in Egypt, and they're depicted in every one of these sites, along with the dog people and the avian beings, the bird people. Even one thing I wasn't expecting to see was the rabbit head people in the pyramids. I'm just like, oh, like we're talking like, and the alligator heads, and I mean everything. And I will confidently say those aren't metaphors. That is a literal depiction of these beings, regardless of what the history tells us. That's what I feel in my soul. And like we were walking amongst ruins of an alien civilization on Earth. That's what Egypt is, in my opinion.
I was surprised with the Lyran, how much feline Lyran energies I felt there. Like it's there, but it kind of dominated a lot of it for me. I feel like more than I expected.
Right, same. I think there was when we went to Karnak, where we saw Sekhmet, that's what I was just tapping into there, which, that was really interesting when I went to the Sekhmet statue, which is the one statue that they haven't been able to move into a museum because there's like some like curse around it. Anybody that's tried to move it, something happens to them. So they just had to leave it. And you go into that room and it's like the reality, like the veil is so thin in there. As soon as you connect with that statue, I'm not joking. Like, I don't care who you are, like that room, like the room morphs, the statue morphs, and you start transcending into another dimension when you're in that room. And it started happening to me almost immediately. And the whole room went black, and the statue started morphing into an actual Lyran being. And I was like completely taken back. And then, the guard told me I had a minute. And then 15 seconds into it, he's like tapping me in the shoulder and like distracting me, like cutting off the connection, which I think is by design. When I think that these guards aren't just guards. I think they know who's going in there and actually connecting. And when they see it happening, they break the connection. It happened with Lily. It happened with a number of us. But then some people who were just not really tapped in, they let them stand there for 15 minutes.
Yeah. But I was actually pissed whenever I was in there with two other people. And then I had to leave super fast because he kept bugging me. And then 10 minutes goes by and then the other two come out. I'm like, what? Who knows what I could have accomplished just, connecting with that. But same thing happened with me where it started morphing. A lot of us had that experience without sharing that with each other. That was our individual experience, but the room and everything was like shape-shifting. It was really trippy.
Right. And then I just got the download that that was sanctuary at once for the Lyrans. During the Lyran Wars, that was a refuge, basically a safe haven until it was taken over. But I got very much the impression that they knew that the danger was coming, so they were able to essentially kind of dismantle some of their technology. And I guess the reason they would do that is so it couldn't be hijacked and taken over and be used for nefarious purposes. So some of it was done intentionally, but I feel like they were very well aware that there was a dark force coming to this planet, and I don't know if they could do something about it or not, but there's evidence, and I would say physical evidence, of some sort of a war, a sky event where these cities were blasted with some sort of energy weapon. I mean, and Lily, didn't you tap into something like that too?
Yeah, whenever we went out into the desert, we just had a random stop. I had a vision while there. I just kind of closed my eyes and tapped in for a second. I saw a lime green weapon just hitting across the ground. I think I messaged you around that time, Craig, because the day before that I heard Sodom and Gomorrah, and I saw like a nuclear bomb. It looked like.
That's interesting because I remember my response to you was obviously Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. It was God or the gods, whichever way you look at it, sent destruction. And I said to you, you didn't say that to me. I said it sounds like some sort of energy weapon that they could have used, and you were like, and I didn't know that you'd seen that,
Yeah, I think that might have been the next day, those downloads happened within a couple days. It must have been that area was hit really hard where we were at that time. One of them was the Temple of Horus, I believe, because after I got that, had those visions of the explosion and heard Sodom and Gomorrah and all that, we went to, I believe it was the Temple of Horus, but that's one where there's layers upon layers underneath, and then it just looks like kind of like rubble and destruction all around it. But yeah, like this desolate desert, I saw like a lime green energy weapon. It almost reminded me of like on Game of Thrones, the lime green fire that burns hotter than regular fire. That's what it looked like, and it like explodes things. That's kind of what it looked like, what I saw in this vision.
Wow.
Just destroying everything, and the message that I got with it was destroyed on purpose to basically erase things.
So you think Egypt was part of Sodom and Gomorrah story, or you were just being shown that as an analogy, as a reference? Like this is the same thing happened here.
Part of it happened there. I think.
I mean, it's in the same region on the planet.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know where the Sodom and Gomorrah was supposed to be. I don't know if you do, Sharnael.
I think whenever I looked it up, it said, "Oh yeah." Actually, Dr. Sharnael, you should answer that. But what I read, it said it's not. I don't think it's for certain where it was exactly. So maybe it was in multiple.
The Middle East. The book, the Thea Uber Prophecy, actually pinpoints exactly where it was, according to that information. But Sharnael, what did you think?
Oh, I don't have a clue. I haven't studied that, but that's really it makes sense. I mean, honestly, because so many other things in scripture talk about, the things in the sky, and, with Enoch and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, obviously that was depicted in lots of paintings that showed UFOs. So it's like, there's so many things that we're not talking about that, even the word in Ezekiel, it talks about the wheel within the wheel. It's really the Merkaba, which is a spaceship. So there's that. We could talk about this forever. I also want to make sure we talk about your guys' books, because I haven't talked to Lily since her new book. And I know that you just launched your book, Tyler. And with the little bit of time we have left, like, hold your books up and maybe, share where we can get them and talk a little bit briefly. My daughter is actually going to be here in a minute. She's been in an emergency room. And so I'm trying to but I want to hear this real quick and just tell us before we cut off.
Yeah. So this is just the author's copy. I haven't even gotten the official copy. Other people have it before I do, but so it's something I actually technically started writing in 2018, and it's just been, a slow burn until recently, whenever it was just very apparent that it was time. And it goes through my awakening journey, but I don't hold back. I dive right in, and I started writing this book as if my family was going to read it, and then I realized I'm like kind of disrespecting myself in the sense that I almost would have had to change the story. Like, I wouldn't be able to share it and its truth if I did that. If I tried to cater to an audience who I'm, trying to cater, that I don't need to be catering to. So I just finally, so there's elements in the beginning where I'm kind of trying to ease people in, but then I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to sound nuts. And this is what happened to me. And it goes through, not just my awakening journey, but also, the reality of these secret space programs, or not just secret space programs, but how people are brought into these programs and what that looks like in a real life scenario, and how that targeting occurs in my own personal experiences, and how this actually it deals with other timelines and other dimensions. And, I bring up the history of time travel and parallel realities and dimensions. And then part 2 of the book is quite literally memories that I have from other realities, other timelines that I've been journaling for years that I haven't really shared, because I didn't, it sounds silly coming out and just saying this stuff. And I saw what was happening with the SSP information and how it was getting so heavily ridiculed. And I just didn't want to be another one of those guys that was thrown into the mix. So it's a whole new approach. It's sharing this information, not coming from the standpoint of an SSP insider, right? Because that's not what I am, and not at all by any stretch of the imagination. And then I get into, of these parallel timelines and how that works. And I break down the timeline wars, the temporal war that we're in the midst of, and how that would explain what we're actually seeing happen on this planet. And then I get into some of the more higher aspects of reality, some simulation theory and some of the stuff that came to me quite literally on a mushroom trip. And I'm very transparent about that. But I think that allowed me access to the higher realms to channel this information and access the Akashic records. And then I truly believe the last chapter of my book, I just channeled it. It's kind of a stream of consciousness, like exactly what the audience needed to hear type of thing. And I poured my heart and soul into it. And it's a 3-part book. And here it is. You can go on Amazon and find it and read it and let me know what you think. Please leave a review. It helps the algorithm and all that fun stuff.
It's quite an average book then.
Quite an average book.
Yeah. Super excited. Yes. Awesome.
That's going to be great.
It's like a baby, right? When it's born, It's like, what? Is this finished? And I know when I've done mine, it's like you edit and then you're like, let me add this and let me add that. And you're editing and you're editing and you're adding and you're taking away. And it's like, if you don't stop, if you don't make a stopping point, you could just never finish.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Yes. Craig, you're in the middle of it, right? You're writing.
Yeah. It's taking me ages. Yeah. You're sorry.
You'll get there. It'll happen.
Yeah, it will. It will. It's when the time's right. Yeah. Definitely.
Tell us, Lily.
So my book is Contact, and it is about my story, starting from the beginning of having contact with extraterrestrials. This started in 2020. For me, it's 117 where I'm at right now. I started having contact in 2020 as I was out shooting space photography. So it comes from a little bit of a different perspective. I share a lot of footage of these craft and the beings that began contacting me. And I go through kind of a Starseed boot camp training, messages that they shared with me. They taught me how to remote viewing, how to develop psychic abilities, activate DNA, and all sorts of things like that. And then there's also a how-to guide on how to make contact safely with benevolent star beings and your star family. So it's a really kind of heartfelt story with lots of footage and video evidence and links and things like that. It's kind of a how-to guide as well. And that's my book, Contact, and you can find it on Amazon also.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys will take the time to go ahead, Tyler.
I was just going to say, and we'll both have physical copies. I'll have physical copies at our conference coming up in May, which Lily is.
Tell us a little bit about that real quick. Yeah.
May 12th through the 15th in Grafton, Illinois, Rebels of Disclosure. It's Journey to Truth's 4th annual conference. Craig was there last year. Lily's been there every year. This year, Lily is going to be speaking. Hey, Phil, what's up? Lily is going to be speaking this year, and I can't wait to hear what she's going to be talking about. But I will have physical copies of the book there if anyone's interested and they don't want to buy it online and get it from me directly. That's greatly appreciated as well. But we have 12 speakers, 4 days. Just like always, it's a kind of like a vacation getaway. We do bonfires, sky watches. We go squatching at night. The very last day, we all go on an excursion to the Cahokia Mounds, where Lily is going to actually be leading like a meditation / activation and reconnecting that site to Egypt and other sacred sites around the planet. So there's it's like a whole thing that we're doing before we wrap it up in Grafton this is our last year in Grafton, and it is officially confirmed that we will be in Hawaii next year, April 20th to the 24th. For a retreat / conference. We're kind of going to be getting a little more boots on the ground with our events, and it's not going to be so much of the classroom style setting that it has been for so long, because I think it's time. People are just tired. We need to move our bodies. Sitting down, absorbing.
April 20th? What did you say? April 20th?
April 20th to the 24th. Yeah. On the Big Island.
Nice.
I'm definitely going to get a grass skirt for that.
Yeah.
Get a coconut bra too.
Make it this time. You guys always have it in the middle of like finals for my kids, and this time I'm actually going to be in Sri Lanka. So I'm getting there. I will be there. I can't believe I haven't been there yet. But you guys, everyone who's watching, make sure to go in May and go see Craig and Lily, and there's tons of other speakers that are going to be there. Obviously, Tyler and the books and the fun things that everyone's going to do. And
and Craig, I would love to get your opinion on last year was your first conference first time in the States and first conference like that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I shared a post about it, but the conference is amazing. The speakers are amazing. It's the community. It's the people that go. It is like a family reunion type vibe. It's it sounds cringy and cliche, I know, but it was literally life changing for me. It set me on it does something to you when we all get together. Last year was just so, like I say, life changing. The bonfires, the squatching. I mean, I've spoken openly about the things that we heard and experienced there. And those creatures want to make contact with us when we're there. They get excited when we're there. And that was that was interesting. I cannot recommend it enough. If people are on the fence, I say just do it, because it's the last time in Grafton. I say do it. I hope to see people there.
And journeytotruth.online has the tickets, all the information, and the Hawaii information will be coming soon. But if you can't make it in person, you can grab a virtual pass, which we recommend, because it's very professionally done, and it's always fun to stay up to date with everything that's happening whenever you can't make it. So we encourage everyone to come out if they can make it in person, and there's 1 day passes too if you can't stay for the whole time.
There's online passes, I believe, if they can't make it in person, right?
Yeah, the virtual passes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I thank you guys for taking time to be with us and to explain everything and share everything that's on your heart, and share your great treasures of your book and your babies in your books, and all the tips and everything for Egypt when we go next year. And I got it on my calendar already about going to Hawaii, and I'm sure there's other people who are interested in going too. So any final words, Craig, before we go?
No. It's great. I love doing this, Sean. I love doing these shows with you. I'd love to get you guys back on again. I don't know if we could do something when I'm in Grafton. I don't know. We'll have to look at that. But
That'd be fun.
Just no, it's great to see everyone. I love doing these shows. I do sense that things are like hotting up spiritually. People are being activated all over the place, and I'm feeling it, and I think everyone else is as well. So onwards and upwards.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us on, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I want to also thank our members, Debbie Elliott and Kathy's on here, and for all of you who have been helpers in us, as not only the subscribers, but for the members that help us keep the show going. Craig and I are very, very thankful for every little bit of help that you guys give us. And we have some secret content for you guys, and discounts and giveaways and different things that we do. And just if you're interested in joining us, you guys can join us and help us with that. And if you go to drsharnael.com, I'm there, got all my stuff there. And we are here usually every Thursday at noon Central, but this one
messed everything up.
This was our special for you guys. And so and if you guys are interested in going to the pyramids and going next year to Egypt, Laura Eisenhower and I will be doing that, and stay tuned for more information with that. And Laura and I are also doing a retreat in Destin, Florida, for those of you who are interested in hanging out with dolphins and being by the ocean and learning astrology and doing some biohacking, and having some time to rest and recuperate and get some downtime on the beach. We still have a few openings left for that too. That'll be October the 23rd through the 26th, and we're really excited about going to help people find their destiny in Destin, Florida. So love you guys so much. Everyone have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go find where my daughter is and what's going on with that, and appreciate you guys. Love you guys so much. Thanks for being with
me. Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Get some sleep. Thank you very much.
Get some sleep, Craig. You look like shit.
And cut.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.